When you apply the word edible to yourself in Scribblenauts, that doesn't just mean that you can be eaten. It means that every sentient being that catches a whiff of you will try to gobble you up as soon as possible, even if that being in question is your newly birthed son. That is the challenge today. I will be trying to beat Scribblenauts Unlimited with both the words pregnant and edible constantly applied to myself. Here's the ground rules. For one, we're only really going to be focusing on completing all 51 full Starite missions in this video. In order to beat the game, you do need to obtain a total of 60 Starites, which means you do have to complete at least 90 Starite shards. But these generally are not that interesting in this challenge. You can pretty much assume that every shard I collect for progression is probably collected by ditching the child, finding a hiding spot out of reach of NPCs, and solving all the puzzles from a distance. The missions, on the other hand, spawn you in the middle of a scenario that you're gonna have to adapt to. They force me to actually engage with the mechanics of the challenge. I'm also banning the use of the notebook outside of required puzzle solutions. If I didn't do this, I would quite literally have hundreds of ways to cheese this challenge that are all just not that interesting. This includes giving myself adjectives to outmaneuver NPCs and giving NPCs adjectives to incapacitate them. If a puzzle solution can also help me beat the level, I think that's fair game though. And the final rule, as is customary with all of my Scribblenauts challenges, is to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what other kinds of challenges you want to see from this game, or find something to get very irrationally angry about throughout the video and write me a nice little paragraph. Now, we start this run with the tutorial, which sucks major ass. I don't know why every tutorial in all of these games are so restrictive and handholdy when the game is supposed to be about creativity. I'm not even allowed to add adjectives to myself for this one at all, so I guess we just have to slog through it like a normal playthrough. After beating the tutorial, you get 2 shard tutorials. First shard still doesn't let you apply adjectives to yourself, but the second one does, and we can actually use our edible body to lure this cat out of the tree. That's kind of fun. You know what else is fun? There comes a time in every YouTuber's career where they are chosen to take place in a sacred tradition passed down through generations of creators. A game so legendary that it has still been getting loads of new content for over 7 years. Of course, I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I won't lie, before this ad, I'd never played Raid Shadow Legends. I didn't realize just how good the game's AAA graphics would be, and while I expected to feel overwhelmed by all the depth and strategy, I've found that this is actually the best time for new players to join the game, because for a limited time, new players that use my download link or QR code can get 2 free legendary champions and a powerful epic to get a huge head start. Right when you boot up the game, you will get the legendary Harvest Jack from the Undead Hordes faction. He specializes in taking down heavily buffed enemies by blocking, suppressing, and even removing the buffs entirely. Then, once you reach level 15, you'll unlock the epic Knight-Errant from the Bannerlords faction. Despite being an epic champion, he has some of the highest multipliers in the entire game, allowing him to deal devastating single target damage. As for your second legendary hero, you get to choose. You've got Turbold using code BIGDAWG, Alice the Wandering using code GETALICE, Cheshire Cat using KITTYCUT, Rosalvarg using code GOFAST, and Grand Oak Padraig using code RAT. Who did I pick? Well, I'd hope that's kinda obvious. I really enjoy using Cheshire Cat's signature ability, Perfect Veil, to enhance my attacks, change the speed of the battlefield, and even chain turns together. Chaining his abilities together in the right way can lead to some absolutely devastating damage. With easy access to so many powerful champions, there has never been a better time to hop in and try Raid. Download Raid Shadow Legends using my QR code or the link in the description. New players will receive 1 legendary and 1 epic, and will be able to use one of the 5 promo codes for an additional legendary champion of your choice. This offer is only available through my custom link and QR code. Thank you, Raid, for sponsoring this video. But now that we've officially completed the tutorial, we can finally move on to the real start of the challenge in Capital City. The mission here is called Carnival Games, and this, ironically enough, functions as a really good tutorial for the challenge. The object of the mission is to throw projectiles to win 3 different carnival games without passing this barrier. Now, in the base game, this mission is baby easy. Spawn a ball, huck it 3 times, and you win. But for our purposes, this scenario has actually become kind of precarious. For one, we spawn right next to this NPC who is running the games, and since passing this barrier instantly fails the mission, we're essentially locked into this small area with a ravenous cannibal. This level really forces us to learn the basics of not getting eaten. Now, the one good thing about getting eaten in this game is that it isn't instant. You can see that this eating animation has a bit of startup before we actually get eaten, and that alone makes juking NPCs pretty manageable on its own. But it isn't free to just run and jump past them. For one thing, the actual eating hitbox is massive. You would think that jumping would get you out of range, but you can absolutely get anti-aired even at peak jump height. The other thing is that while there is a long startup, this hitbox lingers throughout the rest of the animation. Running back into an NPC before they put their hand down will often still get you bitten. So with all of that established, this level is just a very tight training grounds. There aren't any other gimmicks worth worrying about right now, it's just you locked in a small space with this guy trying to eat you. And oh right, my child. The child is not really a big deal in this level, and that is mainly due to Scribblenauts genetics. When anything gives birth in this game, they not only create a baby version of themselves, but that baby retains all current adjectives of the parent. This means that while our child does want to eat us, everyone else also wants to eat our child. So just by naturally kiting this NPC, he will eventually eat our child without us even really needing to worry about it. To progress this mission, we're going to throw balls at these bottles, then throw a dart at these balloons, and finally a ball at this dunk tank. Execution-wise, these are all the same thing. We use our slight speed advantage to gain some ground between us and the NPC after a few laps, and use that time to toss our projectiles at the objectives. After doing that 3 times, we can obtain our first star rate and move on to our next area, the underline. Okay, and that's all you have to do to beat the first mission. That took me 12 minutes. The mission here is called Street Rock, and this mission seems to spawn us in a similar predicament, but we have much more space to freely move around in. But that doesn't necessarily make this mission easier because it introduces us to a brand new mechanic of the challenge: cutscenes. Oh, there's no way he eats me mid-cutscene. Oh god. Yes, even though the game stops the player from moving, NPCs still have free reign and will absolutely take this opportunity to eat you. So if we want to survive this mission, we have to try to play around it. One thing that seems nice about this mission is that the first guy seems too focused on drumming to actually eat us. But this is pretty quickly shown to be a facade, as the second we give him a saxophone to progress the mission, he immediately forgets about drumming and tries to eat us anyway. You might be thinking, okay, he's basically giving you a head start. Why not just hide at the edge of the screen while giving him the sax? But the problem there is, 1, we have a child, and 2, every NPC meant to come in during later stages of this mission is actually waiting right off screen. In normal gameplay, you wouldn't really notice this, but if you get too close to the edge in our circumstance, they will join the mission earlier than intended. So, like we needed to get distance in the first mission to throw our projectiles, here we need to gain distance so that we can survive the cutscenes. We spawn a sax for stage 1, keep gaining distance, then spawn a pianist. And while this mob is following you, you can spawn a speaker to finish the mission and grab the star 8 in the heart of the crowd. Not the hardest mission, but definitely the kind of mission that shows us some of the unintended quirks we're gonna be running into later. And now we're going to Capital City Firehouse, which has 2 missions. Starting with Fire Station Wagon, our goal here is to turn this station wagon into a fire truck. You can kind of understand the issue here right away. We've got a line of 3 guys next to our spawn. What initially seems nice is that when you give each NPC their item needed to progress the mission, they leave. But they don't actually leave. If you try going too far to the left of the screen, you'll actually bring those NPCs back into the mission. And once they come back, they will never let you out of their sight again. Retriggering these NPCs is basically an auto loss, because upon giving the firefighter an axe for step 3, the game triggers a cutscene. So ideally, the goal here is to juke these NPCs in the space close to the car. Not too far to the left to retrigger NPCs that already walked off screen, and not too far to the right to trigger the firefighter early. Then, in order to survive the firefighter's cutscene, we need to be far away from the truck, or else this happens. Oh, he's still there. The artist is still there. Oh my god, they're driving after me in the car. Oh, he did a drive-by! But if we go too far to the right, here, and I'm gonna stay here. Damn, she noticed me. Despite having all this space to work with, the positioning on this one feels really precise. But if we survive the cutscene, we can then run left and spawn wings for the car to complete the mission. Zombie invasion is a pretty rough situation. We spawn right on the cusp of this doctor's range. Sometimes I immediately get run down, sometimes I don't. This game is not very consistent. But on the attempts where I start out safe, the first thing we need to do is spawn something to help this doctor treat this firefighter. This seems simple enough until we find out that completing step 1 starts a long cutscene that involves the firefighter walking our direction and sometimes getting a nice whiff and eating us before we can move again. Sometimes he won't get the whiff if we're positioned all the way to the left, but because this cutscene is so long, even if we remain undetected, we will give birth mid-cutscene and get eaten by our child anyways. This is the first level that has really made our pregnancy a big issue. In the other levels, we could easily dispose of the baby just by doing our normal kiting. But here, he is preventing us from standing in the only safe spot we can. Now, I was messing around on this level for a very long time. I think I might have had one attempt where the stars aligned and I got down the pole right in time, only to panic and get eaten by this gamer. But again, this is not a very consistent game. However, in my desperation to find a more consistent method of getting to the next step, I made an insane discovery. That's a sick clip. Wait, that's sick. Wait, we can use that. We can use our pregnancy. That's insane. I can't believe I just stumbled into that. Like, okay. This is what I like to call the pregnancy clip. Directly to the left of our spawn is an NPC behind a gate with a computer. When we click on the computer, we are given the option to interact with it. But since we are through this gate, it will just result in Maxwell running into the gate infinitely. If we apply our pregnancy while we're in this state, it will make our hitbox larger and clip us into the gate. Now let's get this out of the way. This is technically against my rules. I said I would apply the adjectives at the beginning of each mission, and this is technically waiting a itsy teensy bit to apply them. But I fear I am physically incapable of standing idly by, knowing that I have discovered an incredibly niche pregnancy clip in Scribblenauts Unlimited and not use it. My personal take is that this clip is cool, and realistically there isn't much of a functional difference between applying the adjectives here versus here, so it's fine. But if you're a stickler for the rules, feel free to put an asterisk next to this level. Using the pregnancy clip, I wanted to stay inside of the gate and drop my child off on the other side before clipping back in bounds. Giving birth like this is incredibly precise. Oh, you're living the life that I want to live. Going too far in either direction will clip you outside of the gate and give the gate collision again. If you don't give birth far enough to one side, you'll give birth on the other side. The timing and execution here is pretty strict, but it's definitely possible. Getting rid of the child still leaves us at the mercy of the firefighter randomly giving us aggro though. But I made one more astonishing development upon messing with the clip some more. These doors actually work. In a lot of these missions, the game will disable doors like this, but in this mission, we can pregnancy clip to this door, then run all the way downstairs to hide behind these crates and solve the rest of the mission from a distance. The final part of this mission has you fending off zombies while everyone evacuates. This part is pretty simple because apparently you can't get eaten while riding this mech. For some reason, the gamer would not evacuate though, so I did have to go back upstairs to lure him out manually with my succulent body. Okay, so far every mission we've done has had a lot of bullshit to throw at us, so it's about time we get to some of the simpler ones. Over at Virtual Gallery, we have the mission Finicky Patrons. Here we have to spawn 4 objects that the 4 patrons would enjoy. We have a lot of space here, and once a patron looks at their painting, they leave the level on the left side. So if we just run to the right side and camp, we should be safe. Right, forgot about the child. So we feed our child to the first patron and then camp all the way on the right side. My favorite part about this mission is that even the painting objects will still try to eat you as you run past them. Moving on to St. Asterisk Hospital for doctors on call. So here we have to heal 5 different patients. Our space is pretty limited. Hiding on the right is ill-advised. Are you over here? Yeah, there he is. Yeah, there he is. He's off screen. So we want to stay towards the left of the screen, but when we spawn the medical professionals to heal these patients, that's where they go. This mission isn't super hard, but it's pretty funny. Oh my god, did the teeth eat me or did the I get me. But we want to stay on the left side, avoiding the medical professionals on their way out, and then when the ambulance comes in, move as far left as possible. We do this for 5 steps and get our star rate. Full Stop Diner was an area I was pretty worried about because of how small and enclosed it is, with tons of NPCs. And dinner service does start out concerning. Oh, what was the range? I think when a character is riding something, their bite range gets extended to the radius that that object would have. I'm obviously not in range of this boy, but I am in range of the booth he's sitting in, which is why this looks crazy. We can find a perfect range between the booth and the chef, but then I always forget about the child. But this is another mission where the doors actually work, and that makes this mission kind of trivial. We can ditch our child upstairs with this chef, then hide downstairs while completing the rest of the mission. And from there, it's pretty easy to make one dash past the chef to grab our star rate. Chef's Apprentice has a pretty similar solution. We want to ditch our child upstairs to get eaten. Oh, what a chomp. And then hide in the basement until we can come upstairs to grab the star rate. This area ended up being pretty easy. Without these doors, I think these would have been nightmare missions. Hyphen Heights Date Night. This mission is kind of a joke. If you spawn with wings, you can just kind of... yeah. So, hey, new rule to make up for my controversial implementation of pregnancy clipping. If I spawn with wings, I take them off. Bang, there we go. But even without the wings, here we just have a lot of space to hide. So we obviously remember to get rid of the child first, and then run to this far corner where we can easily grab the star rate after. We also have Out with the Old over here. The biggest obstacle here is getting rid of our child. Upon completing each step of the mission, we are locked into long cutscenes. So kiting isn't really that much of an option. This cockroach at the beginning seems like a prime candidate, but I could not get a great attempt here. I used fire for step 1 to demolish the building, and I accidentally found out that when you aggro an NPC, that takes priority over their hunger. As long as this fire that did damage to my son was still there, he would continue to focus on it. This might be the first mission where I don't sacrifice my child, so that's pretty cool. Inkwell High is actually the first area where I was having trouble even getting to this mission, as there's students camping your spawn, and these students in their desks have a huge bite range. The trick is to get as late a jump as possible and then click the mission right before you get eaten. This brings us to Experiment in Mad Science. It's a pretty standard locked in a small room with one NPC mission, so we juke back and forth while spawning the items needed to progress and grow this organism. One funny thing to note here is that after the organism has grown enough, it too will also start trying to eat you. You would think the organism having wings would make it scarier, but it actually gets much slower. The main issue to deal with in this one is a small cutscene that appears after step 4, but we have absolutely dealt with much longer ones already. So after naming our beautiful creature A, we can flick this lever and grab the star rate. Grave Manor's Ghost Hunter is another mission I thought would be a lot worse than it actually was. In this mission, you have to get a bunch of ghosts the things they want, and what was conceptually scary about this mission is that ghosts can go through walls. This didn't end up being too bad though, as the mission gives you access to the entire house. So I was able to ditch my child downstairs as I hid on top of the chimney. Over at the Metaforest, we have the Merit Badge. This one is all about the first step. Our succulent body will immediately alert the boy, but upon giving him a sword to progress past step 1, he is forced to move on to the next part of the mission. He really fights it though. So then we can just hide and we'll focus on his goal and he'll leave us be. And there's our child, right, the child. That is the issue. We want to juke the boy in this really tight space until he eats our child. If we go too far to the right, we'll alert this NPC. And unlike the boy, he is not programmed to move on to the next step, so he will just eat us during that cutscene. But after we do this quick kite, the rest of the mission is free to solve from a distance. We've had a nice streak of softballs, so now it's time to go to Magischool Grotto for the Oregon Trail. Pretty familiar start. The guy we are trying to help is trying to eat us. We can ditch our child into his gullet pretty easily, but this is a mission where every step results in a cutscene. These first 2 steps are pretty simple. We have a lot of space to the left, and the whole mission seems to be taking place on the right. The problem comes when we spawn the mana hunting buddy. Wait, why am I walking over? Wait, no! Because this is not just a normal cutscene. This is a cutscene that forces you to walk straight into your own death. This seems like an unavoidable obstacle. The game hard codes you to run directly towards two NPCs that will always eat you before you regain control. But this is a Scribblenauts game, so we have a lot of jank we can play with. This is an immovable salmon, a valid solution for step 2 where we need to replace this man's ox with a new animal. By placing the immovable salmon on the left side of the screen, when the game tries to tether the carriage to the salmon, we get some pretty funny results and a dangling carriage. But what's useful about this is we can essentially position the carriage wherever we want. When it comes time to spawn the hunting buddy, we can actually get into the carriage ourselves, which will prevent us from walking in the cutscene. A new problem arises here though. This game is fucking broken. See, in this cutscene, the guy is supposed to shoot this buffalo, but he doesn't, and the buffalo maintains its aggro and kills the man before we can get the starite to spawn, which will fail the mission. It must have something to do with the way we position the man before this cutscene, but a neat way to get around this is that if we get out of the wagon, it actually teleports the man inside of it, which gets him far enough away that he won't get mauled until after we grab the starite. The orphan dragon in Sir Guillemet's castle is not that bad, but I ran into some funny quirks here. You're supposed to give this lizard something magical to turn it into a dragon. Me, being very uncreative in this challenge, decided to spawn a magic stone, which works, but the adjective magic actually brings inanimate objects to life, which for the sake of our challenge is not ideal. A stone ate me. Similarly, in the next step, when this holy dragon wanted something holy to power up, I gave him a holy man, which resulted in the dragon eating his halo, scaring the man in my direction, and starting a cutscene. But yeah, the main gist of this level is don't spawn stupid shit that could backfire on you and stay on the left side of the screen. Thesaurus Park has an easy mission and a hard mission, so let's start with the easy mission. $5 billion Dino is just a mission where we give this doctor parts to build a mecha T-Rex. At the beginning, we can easily ditch our child with the doctor and then give him a progression item so he loses aggro and we can camp like a little bitch on the left side of the screen. Allosaurus on the loose is a much bigger problem. We've got our standard start. This NPC will immediately get a whiff of us, and unlike a lot of other mission NPCs, this one never loses interest when we complete objectives. This isn't a huge issue for the first step. We can spawn a hunter to find the dinosaur without much trouble, but giving the hunter a gun to track the dinosaur starts a very long cutscene as the hunter walks towards the bush. We can shorten this cutscene by giving the hunter a gun closer to the bush to reduce the distance he travels. Also, side note, very cool, this step says that the hunter doesn't see any signs of the dinosaur. Are you fucking sure, man? Regardless, the most consistent way to live this first cutscene is to corral all the NPCs to the left side of the screen, then book it to the right, get a jump right as the cutscene triggers to get some extra distance, and we will barely have enough space to survive. But upon putting some bait in this cage, we start an even longer cutscene, the cutscene of Certain Vor. This cutscene consists of the dinosaur and the hunter traveling to the left side of the screen, so for obvious reasons, we cannot hide on the left side of the screen. But when we try to get as much distance as possible on the right side of the screen, this cutscene allows the original NPC to cross the entire map and eat us. I tried activating it when both the dinosaur and the hunter were as close to their spots as possible. It still takes forever. It feels like no matter where you are on the ground, you will get eaten by this lady. So I tried to turn my attention to other avenues. These platforms up here would be a safe place to hide, but the door here is disabled and we have no way to get up there. You can clip down here with rideable objects, but we didn't have any rideable options that would fit as a puzzle solution. Besides, when I asked Stripes After Death, the Scribblenauts Unlimited world record holder, for advice, they came up with a more fun solution. While many NPCs will try to outsmart us by eating us in these cutscenes, I've yet to meet one who can outsmart Bullet. The gun we've already been using for step 2 can be taken back and used to shoot this zookeeper. We can't kill the zookeeper because that would fail the mission, but just enough to scare them. Their innate fear of dying is slightly stronger than their desire to eat us in this scenario, which actually causes them to run away from us during the cutscene instead. After that, the rest of the mission is smooth sailing as we can safely solve the remaining steps from across the map, then grab the starite. Now we can move on to the ruins of Ellipsis to take on ScribbleQuest. This warrior will immediately aggro on us, but we can use him to dispose of the child and then give him a sword so he loses interest. You don't want to be too close to the fight when the final cutscene starts because, yeah. But for some reason, this mission encompasses the entire level, even though it only uses like a quarter of it. So we can hide way over here and be fine until the starlight is dropped. Over at Anafra Falls, we have teaching a businessman to fish. Again, standard mission. He starts trying to eat us, he eats our child, then we progress the mission and he forgets about us. The one noteworthy thing about this mission is that the fish on these plaques are still alive and desperately still want to eat me. We also have primate pals. This is another mission where we spawn with wings so we can immediately take those off. I really wanted to sacrifice my child off this cliff at the beginning, but the invisible walls on the mission are just slightly too close. So the most obvious course of action that follows is to feed my child to this monkey. If you hide to the right, the monkeys will not stop trying to eat you during this cutscene, but if you position to the left, you'll be fine. So I was actually just able to hide on the far left of the screen for the rest of this mission undetected. The final monkey is a huge fan of the Scribblenauts series though, so I thought a fitting and funny solution would be to give him a new child as a friend. So I re-impregnated myself and found out that my child does not count. What a fake fucking fan, man. Won't even raise my kid. So by doing everything again and not throwing with unnecessary childbirth, we can finish this mission relatively easily. Paper and Penitentiary. Paper and pen. I just got that, okay. Has 3 missions, and due to the enclosed nature of this level, they have some tough moments. Starting with Prison Break, we need to give this cop a place to sit down. Forcing the cop to sit should keep us a safe distance during the cutscene. Oh, why did he get up? But the next step spawns a ghost, which because he can go through walls, we don't really want to go anywhere near him. The top floor door is disabled, so I tried using that chair we spawned for the cop to clip up a floor, but then we have no way back down. Even worse, it seems like the ceiling is slightly too thick to clip through. So naturally, if we can't clip up, we're gonna have to clip down, and to the left a little bit. The starlight spawns out here, so that is our final destination. The couch is wide and can be used to clip through this first gate, but for some reason it can't be used to clip through any of the other gates like this. I don't know why only this gate is couchable, but since none of the other gates are, we're gonna have to get a little more creative. Clipping down isn't too bad. We can place the couch close to the ceiling and ride it as it falls, but once we're down here, now what? We're safe on the couch since it's a rideable object, but we do eventually need to give this couch to the cop, so this really isn't that much progress. After some more tinkering, I found out that by dropping this couch and preserving an angle like this, it will let us clip sideways. Problem solved, but man is this hard to do with this guy trying to eat us in such a small space. So I actually decided to start clipping to the right instead. This way I wouldn't have to deal with the different angles needed to clip down and then left. Instead, I could just reuse the same setup to get over here. Now we still have the issue of getting to the left. I could try to clip back to the left, but I figured it would actually be safer to go up and around the entire prison. The jump to get into this tower is pretty finicky and precise, but we can eventually use couch jumps to get all the way to the left tower. Now the rest of the mission looks a little messed up because all the NPCs still want to eat me through these walls, but we can solve them from a distance regardless and drop down onto the starlight. Next we have the Gauntlet, which is famously one of the few missions you can actually cheese and sequence break in this game, so I thought for this challenge it would be subversive for me to actually beat this level as intended for the first time in my life. Interestingly, when trying to apply the adjective pregnant in this mission, the game says certain size altering adjectives are not allowed, but it still lets me be pregnant, so I don't really know what that was all about. While there aren't really any NPCs on the first floor to eat our child, we can just as easily go down the stairs as we give birth to strand him up there. You can kind of hold forward through most of this mission until we get here where we need to use a fan to move this spike ball so we can progress. The only thing being edible on this level changes is that this one robot can eat you, but we can use our fan to reposition him out of the way while we move the spike ball. From there we have to make ourselves small to fit into this gap, destroy these barrels, open these gates using air vents, mess around with air vents for way too long, and then cross the lightning on top and safely drop down onto the time machine so we can grab the starlight. Finally, we have cellmates, where the goal is to give each person a roommate they would like. The stairs are disabled, so we can't necessarily hide on a different floor, and spawning the roommate will trigger a cutscene, which given our claustrophobic setup here will always result in death. death. The only way out on this mission that I see is to find a roommate for this football player that is also rideable. I spawned a jockey hoping they would come with a horse. They don't. I tried some other athletes like snowboarders and skaters that might spawn with their equipment. Still no. Eventually, out of desperation, I just tried giving him a horse as a roommate, and of course that wouldn't. What if I could just spawn a horse? Like, is that chill or does it need to be a guy? Okay, I can spawn a horse. Oh. Okay, yeah, just spawning a horse for the first step allows us to just safely stay on top of it for the rest of the mission. Paper Planes just has one mission that's pretty standard. Where's my child going? Scribblenauts University is just an open area with no cutscenes. So long as we can effectively kite, it really isn't an issue. I thought They Walk Among Us in Bullet Point Bayou would be pretty simple cheese by hiding in this UFO, but it isn't rideable. It's still not that bad though. We can just hide up here. Right, dump the child first. The final step requires us to scare this alien who's afraid of heights, which almost backfired on me when I gave her a plane, but we managed to outmaneuver and still grab the starite. But that leads us to the cursed crew on the listy colon. This spawn might look pretty safe, but there's actually a ghost directly behind us. But since this level had a decent amount of space to move around in, we can pretty easily juke everything back and forth as we spawn progression items until the starite spawns. I feel like at this point the game expects you to just be wearing wings everywhere. It doesn't really think about the level design in that way. Use my ladder as a peg leg. I use my ladder as a peg leg. Where can I find some sailors is also pretty easy. We can ditch the kid up top with this guy and then hide in the poop deck for the rest of the mission. I thought I might need to defend myself against the guys I needed to spawn down here, so I picked up this musket, but I didn't end up needing it. The Lost Kingdom of Parentheses has 2 more missions, and we're gonna start with Sea Goat's Gruff, which fortunately for us has this lip directly above that we can hide behind. Child. Okay. Now we're good. But yeah, the rest of the mission is pretty free. The end is a little scary. These goats are much faster than us underwater, but luckily if you die and fall onto the starite, it still counts as collecting it. Unsunken City is probably my least favorite mission in this entire game. Not even through the lens of this challenge, just in general, this mission sucks ass. The plot is that these evil scientists drain the ocean and you need to fix it. To undrain the ocean, you have to destroy this drain. But if you try to sequence break the mission at all to do that early, it does not count. That's the object you're supposed to destroy. So what important steps are you absolutely 100% not allowed to skip in this mission? Just giving these scientists random bullshit. This guy wants bedding for his robot hamster. What? Maxwell just kill these guys. The sequence breaking thing really gets on my nerves because in the DS games, if you skip to later parts of the mission using cool clips, the game would often acknowledge that and let you progress. In this mission, you're supposed to get trapped in this cage and the only way out is to spawn 2 clothing items a scientist would wear and give yourself the adjective mad. If you clip out of the cage, who cares? You still need goggles to escape the trap. What if you never even got trapped in the cage to begin with? Oh buddy, you better get a lab coat to get out of this trap. It sucks. It's the absolute antithesis of creativity. In this game about finding creative solutions, you are so often forced to do things exactly as intended. The game will never reward you for thinking outside of the box. Hey assholes, stop having fun. Spawn some bedding for this robot hamster. Oh. Sorry. Can you tell why this isn't a minimum words video? In this challenge, the mission has some pretty unavoidable cutscenes that will almost certainly kill you no matter your positioning. Luckily, the first guy wants you to spawn a mythological creature, and there's a ton of those we can choose from that are rideable. I first tried a Pegasus, but it was a bit too big to fit through the gates, so eventually I used a Griffin, and the rest of the mission is a breeze from there. On the A, B, and C front, the mission is called Santa's Flight, and while at first it seems like a typical chase mission where we get run down by Santa and Rudolph the whole time, after step 2 it plays a cutscene, so we need to find some way to deal with them. Getting Santa stuck in the water here is possible, but again, this is not a very consistent game. When we get lucky with stranding Santa at sea, we can just stay right here, just out of range of getting sniffed by Rudolph. We do have to inch slightly closer to him to give him the glowing adjective. Is he gonna eat me? Oh, he tried so hard. He tried so hard. Man, thankfully Rudolph was moving too fast in that cutscene. Let's speed through some easy missions. Exclamation Point has the mission because it's there and it's pretty simple. Basically, we give birth, feed our child to the hungry expeditioners, and then hide on top of this tent out of reach of all danger. Pilcrow Peaks has 2 missions. Sledding to the finish is a quick child dump, and then we can stay on this hill since the sledders are moving too fast to eat us. Searching for Santa. Okay, rideable objects might be pretty broken in this challenge. I'm gonna try moving forward to only really use them as a last resort. This mission might be possible without the police car, but honestly, with the amount of people and cutscenes, it might actually be necessary. We've also got Wanted in Dusty Brush Canyon. A quick dump, and then after step 1, the officer will leave us alone for the rest of the mission. Abjad Dunes has Desert Raiders. We can dump our child and hide on top of a tent again. Then grab the Starite as everyone kills each other. I think we did a good thing today, Maxwell. In the Tomb of Onomatopoeia, we have the Making of a Mummy. A pretty standard close quarters mission. The first 2 steps have no cutscenes, but the final step absolutely does. The layout of this level does allow us to show off a new technique though. I call this one the Chud Sunscreen. You see, one beneficial attribute of my fucking son that I hate is that he too is very edible. And since we are faster than him, oftentimes he can take the edible aggro. This usually doesn't mean anything since the NPC will still have line of sight on us after they devour our son, but in the case of this level, we can hide on the slope of the pyramid as our Chud son gets torn apart by this woman, effectively using our son as a smokescreen, allowing us to safely hide here for the rest of the mission until it's all clear to grab the Starite. Underscore Mines has 2 missions. First, we have Caught in the Web. We need to spawn a bunch of people to beat the shit out of these different elemental spiders. We're locked in a small room with no NPCs, which means the child would be an issue if not for the fact that we could just spawn our first superhero in our room before giving him to the spider. However, Maxwell the superhero, we have to confront our child. We are stuck in this room with no NPCs to bail us out. This mission is all about breaking our Chud son's ankles while equipping various superhero clothes. My initial instinct was just to try and spawn everything before I even gave birth, but apparently when Maxwell is pregnant, a lot of wearable items don't fit on him, so we actually do have to wait to give birth to progress in this mission. The last step requires you to give yourself an adjective that gives you powers. Oh, I'm too big. I'm too big. A little too big. But as terrifying as taking accountability and confronting my child is, it's honestly not too bad of a mission if we turn super on top of the Starite. Camel Case Oasis, we have Maxwell the Great, and this mission is interesting. If you do it normally, it's honestly not that bad. We have to grant 3 wishes for 3 different people, but after granting their wishes, they leave. But I learned pretty early on that this is actually one of the few missions in this game that you can sequence break. By being edible and hugging the right side of the screen, we can actually bring in the vampire from step 2 early without even completing step 1. And surprisingly, it does progress the mission. This is honestly a crazy find because it might actually be a speedrun relevant skip. Like, being edible might actually be optimal here. I even asked Stripes about this and they didn't know about it, so I guess this means I finally get to name a real optimal speedrun skip. None of that Patrick Star game unoptimal movement tech I found. This is real. Let's call it Garfield MPreg in honor of this video. Anyways, Garfield MPreg makes this mission very hard, so I'm gonna force myself to use it. By bringing in the vampire early, we are also making sure that the first merchant never despawns and never stops chasing us. Since there aren't any cutscenes, this isn't the worst thing in the world, just some classic back and forth while spawning items. The problem is that the final step spawns a clown in his clown car. Shouldn't really be that much of an issue, right? Well, the car is sentient. Oh, the insta-bite, like the car bites so fast. The car is actually the quickest biter in the West. So I mentioned the magic stone thing earlier, but let's talk a little more about inanimate objects that have been granted sentience. They are absolutely, no joke, the most dangerous obstacles in this run. While normal human NPCs and even animals have clear animations with startup that you can juke, inanimate objects will instantly eat you the second you enter their range. You may as well think of them as a giant wall. You cannot run or jump past them no matter how hard you try. die. In a normal attempt, you could just hide on the left side of the screen like a little bitch with no danger, but if you perform Garfield MPreg, you now have a merchant forcing you to approach the clown car. It makes it so this mission requires much more precise positioning. Passing the clown car on its way in when it isn't capable of eating you, then spawning the 3 items really quickly before you get run down by the merchant, and crossing back past the clown car on its way out. You have 1 cycle to do this perfectly or else you die. Then after all that, the starite spawns out of range, but if you jump and pick it up at the same time, you can increase your range and secure it. Honestly, if you want to try any mission from this challenge for yourself, this one with Garfield MPreg was definitely one of my favorites. Anyways, on to the Vowelcano. Besides the banger soundtrack, the Vowelcano has 2 missions, and the mission Volcano Sacrifice will mainly have 1 roadblock. We don't have NPCs to eat our child. Solving the puzzles quickly doesn't matter because triggering step 2 puts us in a long cutscene that spells certain vor. There really is only one way out of this. We need to throw our chud son into this volcano. In order to effectively drop him in, you have to precisely jump as you're giving birth over the lava and then swing back to the ledge to safety. Nice. Clean. That one felt cleaner. He lives. He freaking lives. He's coming for revenge. At least that's what I thought, but apparently if you fall in this volcano, you just get respawned back up top. Whatever, my way was way cooler. The rest of this mission is just dropping shit into the volcano until the step where the volcano goddess wants a mate. There's no way God just did that to me, man. I'll drop him on the other side, I guess. But yeah, all things considered, a pretty simple starite. Monster attack is deceptively pretty tough. Off rip, this is Pestilence. He will be our government-mandated NPC that chases us at spawn. The problem with Pestilence is that he doesn't seem interested in eating children. At this point of the run, I've gotten pretty good at kiting NPCs into eating my child. Some would say I might be the best in the world at getting my chud son eaten by strangers. It didn't seem to matter how close I could get my child to him, he just wouldn't take the bite. I think he might be slightly slower, or his biting animation might be slower than most NPCs, which means he can't get the eat off on this agile child. Speed solving the first step will put us in a guaranteed death cutscene if we don't get rid of the child. And to make it even worse, if we go too far to the left, we get the attention of the germs. There is no way that germ is trying to eat me. There's no way. Germs are much like the clown car. If they get near you, they will instant kill you. We don't want to get these people involved either because after step 1, they aren't programmed to forget about you and will still eat you in the cutscene. But it does seem like our only shot is to use the germs to our advantage. Now, using the germs is very hard. These things are really slow, which means that getting one to catch our child normally just isn't gonna happen. This is definitely one of the more precise levels in the run. One time I was able to jump over the germ, jumping from the top of this slope while the germ was closer to the floor. I didn't expect it to work, so I fumbled after, but I think the slightly easier setup is to try to give birth as you aggro the germ. The child is kind of stun-locked for a brief moment upon being birthed, so if you time it perfectly, the germ can eat him instantly. You just have to make sure not to go too far and aggro this NPC, and also not too close that the germ eats you. But after you clear the child, progressing the mission will kill all the germs and pestilence, so you can safely hide on the far right for the rest of the steps. Ampersand Beach, the reality TV competition, is very funny. At first it feels really doable, you know? Wow, so much open space to kite these NPCs. I think the host killed himself off screen because his mic short-circuited in the water, but just don't go in the water. And even better, when you solve step 1, it forces the NPCs to lose aggro. Everything is great. It's a cutscene where the NPCs are like forced. Oh, that's that's just an execution. Oh, what the fuck? This cutscene is the most fucked up thing in this entire challenge. To not only take away my control, but to force me in the middle of 4 NPCs where I can't do anything. Now, I know I said I'd hold back on rideable things, but I genuinely don't know what else to do in this situation. I choose to spawn a dragon since it can pass step 1 of lighting a fire. Like, look at how long this cutscene is. How else would you possibly survive this? If anyone's able to figure out a way that doesn't involve riding something, please let me know. Side note, giving this armadillo a hat gave gave me 2 checks. Usually the third check is like combining a pickle with wings or something. Is this a sequence break? If this is another sequence break, let's call it Garfield MPreg Jr. Storybook Keep, Hansel and Gretel Stay Out, and what a day it is. Being a little guy makes this mission a little more scary. Thank you. It's so much more visceral that he picks him up. Holy shit. Now, the first step can be solved by kiting them to the left and giving them the stones once we hit the right side of the screen. The second step, we can give them an axe from a distance, but the third step wants us to apply an adjective to Hansel that makes him unappetizing. Unlike spawning objects, applying an adjective to something actually requires us to get close to what we are applying it to, which it seems like a death sentence in this case. But fortunately, giving him a skunk from a distance applies the stinky adjective, and that counts. After we set a fire in the house, we mysteriously died, and apparently after this step, this lumberjack spawns. I don't even know how he got to me that time, but it's something that we have to be careful about. The final step requires us to open this cage with this key, which again requires us to go over there and face a certain death cutscene. But one thing I did notice is that you don't actually need to use the key on the lock. It just disappears when the key makes contact. So what if we could get the key to make contact without putting ourselves in the certain death zone? Some might argue this is spawning an extra object since it wouldn't technically be required to solve the puzzle, and to that I say, this key spawns in very hot, and you aren't able to pick it up normally until you either cool it down or do something exactly like this to progress the mission. Bang! Give me that star right. On Dot the Island, we have a dark and floody night. This one is pretty easy. We've got so much space and multiple levels to hide on. This is the one potentially scary part of the mission. It's very fortunate that we don't rise up with the water here in the cutscene, but smooth sailing all things considered. Alliteration Abyss is just a really big area, so both the missions here pretty much amount to run away and hide. In Undersea Tour, we end up hiding next to the one guy in the entire world who doesn't want to eat us and spawn everything from a distance. You gotta check out this epic battle. 2 objects for an underwater battle scene? A radar. Like a spear? Like a spear gun? What a fight! The food chain is actually the first mission where we see that our child is very strong underwater. If we're swimming in a straight line, we won't get eaten, but any angle will result in us getting caught up to. So we have to kite him by doing full laps around the screen to get him eaten by this scientist, and then this scientist gets stun locked by some good dome. The rest of the mission is spawning stuff from a distance. It's a little scary just how many living things start to spawn around us in this mission. We are literally creating the food chain that we are at the bottom of. But the top left corner ended up keeping us safe, and then we could grab the starite. At this point, I need to grind some shards to unlock the next set of missions. I decided to grind all of the remaining 90 or so shards. I need to complete the game here as well, so that when I beat the final mission, I would roll the credits. I won't talk about them in the script, but I'll add an epic shards moment montage here for any epic shards moments. Yeah, cut it yourself, bro. What do you want me to do? If I get, you won't let me near it. Okay. Oh, he's so fast! He's so freaking fast! Oh no! He's so quick! These underwater ones are also like way harder for, because you can't just like get high ground underwater. You can somehow get clipped out of bounds though, and then, you know what? I'm stuck. I don't want to cheat. I swear I don't want to cheat. I'm being forced to cheat. I mean, I'll just reset the level. Oh, there we go. I can put food in the lobster trap. Did the lasagna just eat me on its way up? There's no way. Why can the lasagna eat me? That heart's gonna eat me though. I try to go up there. I can't believe the old man chased me all the way over there. Oh my god, it's eat or be eaten. Are you really vegetarian piranhas? Oh my god, they are. Aww. They actually are. That's so cool. Welcome to Kana Craters, and Martian invaders from space is a bit of a doozy. The plot of this level is that these guys are afraid of these aliens that are attacking them, but they really are not that afraid of them. Stop! Stop, you have bigger things to worry about than eating me, man. Ditching the child is easy at this point, but this mission has a very long cutscene after every step. None of these buildings can be stood on or climbed either. We need to do multiple laps around the stage to bunch everyone together, then spawn a dog at the perfect time so we can get max distance away from them. The timing and positioning can be a little tough on this one, but it's really not anything we haven't dealt with at this point. If you're too close, they will still see you on their way to the farm and eat you mid-cutscene, but if you get far enough away towards the corner of the screen, they will go to their step 2 places as programmed and not bother you for the rest of the mission. Danger Black Hole is very simple. We can just climb on top of this observatory after ditching our child to safely solve the rest of the mission. On Palindromeda, we have Escape from Palindromeda. This mission is odd because this astronaut actually does not want to eat us. I guess we've got 2 beings in the entire Scribblenauts universe that are sentient that will not eat me or my chud son. Him not eating our chud son does actually seem like an issue at first, but we can easily ditch him by progressing the mission and leaving him in the basement. And then the rest of the mission can be easily completable because for once the guy we are trying to help is not trying to eat us. We are finally at the point where we have 2 missions left: Frontline of Defense on Palindromeda and Space Station Infiltration on Syntax Station. And I make a big deal out of this because these 2 missions both present us with such seemingly unwinnable scenarios that it almost makes it seem like the devs knew that one day a man would try to beat their game while pregnant and edible. Let's start with Frontline of Defense. This mission is probably the worst layout we could ever have for this challenge. This screen is literally all the space that has been allotted for this mission. There's barely any space, and we constantly have multiple NPCs on screen. This isn't awful by itself. We've had missions like this before. Just kiting NPCs in a small space, what's the big deal? There aren't even any cutscenes either. Here's the issue. In this mission, we need to provide this guy with materials to upgrade his robot soldier. Every time we upgrade the robot, the game spawns in a new monster to fight it. The monster is supposed to come in after the upgrade, but since we're edible, we actually lure it onto screen early, so we are never safe in this mission. The right side is covered by the scientist and his robot, and even if we can reset their aggro by progressing the mission, we're forced back to the right side anyways, otherwise we get eaten by the next monster. But again, this doesn't seem that bad. We just have to do some really precise kiting the whole mission. The biggest issue is with step 3, when the robot turns into a mecha T-Rex. This thing is massive, and as such has a massive bite range. So massive in fact that I don't think it's possible to kite past a T-Rex and survive. So now in this mission where we have no space, we can't stay on the left unless we want to get eaten by the next monster, and we also can't kite to the right because this T-Rex is essentially a big wall. You might be thinking maybe we could spawn progression items that could help us deal with this, but unfortunately when you spawn an item for an upgrade, the man takes it into his lab and disappears. Even if you steal it from him before he takes it into his lab, it will still disappear. This isn't even mentioning that this is not a very consistent game, and this is a very inconsistent mission. Oh my god, what the fuck was the T-Rex doing there? When the characters want to eat you, sometimes the scientist just refuses to progress the mission, even if you give him the right item. And the mission is broken. This is fucking cool. It's like you do a thing and they don't even do what they're supposed to. Sometimes the previous robot the scientist was supposed to upgrade does not disappear, so then there's an extra NPC chasing you. Well, why is he still here? Like, he's not even supposed to be there. These robots all have different bite animations. This one is much slower, but it lingers for a long time. I did a lot of attempts on this mission. I got really good at kiting. I even learned that if I kite this monster far to the right while the guy is upgrading in this building, I could sometimes make it back to the left without drawing aggro, and the T-Rex would be further to the right after defeating the monster, so it wouldn't notice me after the fight. What? This mission feels maybe possible to me. It almost feels like it was designed specifically to be an incredibly precise ROM hack kind of level for this challenge specifically. I was able to make it to the final step a few times, but even then it feels kind of hopeless. The monsters will often focus on their goal of trying to kill the robot, but the robot will gladly take breaks from their fight to eat you instantly. If anyone can beat this mission using pure kiting, please let me know. I'd love to see it. I think it genuinely might be one of the most difficult things you can do in any of these games. With that being said, I did find some cheese. Yes, the scientist does take away the objects you spawn, but there seems to be an interesting glitch that we can take advantage of. The first step wants you to spawn something metal, so I was messing around trying to use metal wings and then steal them back from him. And for some reason, if you steal the wings from him at the right time, you can actually retain the ability to fly. The wings are gone, you don't get any flying adjective or anything, you just get the ability to fly. So we can use that to just fly above this mission and ignore the absolute mess that is down there. On one hand, enjoy the most niche piece of Scribblenauts tech you'll probably ever see, but on the other hand, this solution feels a little lame to me, but it's genuinely the only solution I could come up with that is still within my rules. But that brings us to our final mission, Space Station Invasion. Fun fact, this mission is actually a sequel to a previous mission in the game. In fact, a sequel to my very favorite mission in the game, Unsunken City. That's right, they brought back the robot hamster, the only callback they do in the entire game. Hey guys, remember that time we made you spawn bedding for a robot hamster? Well, we brought him back. Robot hamsters aside, this mission does not seem that bad, all things considered. The first room wants us to fix this guy's jetpack or give him a new one. We can use him to get rid of our child, but if we give him a normal jetpack, he gets a major speed boost that allows him to eat us during the following cutscene regardless of positioning. We have two options here. Just give him a slow jetpack, which, I don't know, it's kind of boring. Or we could bend the rules a teensy-weensy little bit and perform an ultra-precise pregnancy clip. By spawning a jetpack on the other side, trying to pick it up, becoming pregnant as we walk into the gate, we can clip into the gate and then precisely time our birth to jump our newborn child into the other room with this strange man who will eat him and then give that man the jetpack while we're safely on the other side. Either works. I just kind of wanted to get a little more mileage out of the pregnancy clip thing. I don't know. The rest of the mission seems pretty straightforward. We spawn everything for all the following steps from the newfound safety of the spawn room. The problem comes towards the end. We are forcibly teleported into the final room and told to hit this giant lever. Doing so traps us in this cage, and there's no way he can fucking go through gates. What? That's not how that's supposed to happen. I don't really know how that happened. I tried using an engineer to activate the lever from a distance, but regardless, you will end up in this cage. But assuming the game doesn't completely break, being in a cage isn't that bad. We can't get eaten in here. Even our failure of an engineer for some reason, I don't know why he's not eating us. We can spawn a hacker to get into the mainframe, which destroys the cyborg and spawns the final starite of this challenge. Oh. What do we do about that? So this is an issue. Out of the 51 total missions in this game, the final mission is the only one that randomly has a sentient starite. The object we need to collect to finish this mission will eat us if we even try to get close to it. I cannot imagine a more fitting final obstacle for this challenge. Now, this mission is anti-gravity, and unlike the underwater goat mission, we can't just get eaten and fall on top of it, because in this level, our corpse stays floating. There's a lot of angles to approach this from thanks to the anti-gravity, but in general, just trying to slowly fly into it is never gonna work. We know how this works with the germs and the clown car. If we even enter the starite's radius, we are going to die. At this point, our best shot is going to be trying to click the pickup button on it. At Maxwell the Great, we were able to use that to our advantage to pick up a starite slightly out of our reach. The hope is that here we can activate the pickup function outside of the radius and use the increased reach to pick it up before it eats us. This is not a consistent workaround, but then again, this is not a very consistent game. If we try enough times, the one thing I'm sure is consistent is that this game will always find new ways to be broken. Wait, holy shit. Wait, did that count? Oh, no way. Holy shit. With that final star 8 collected, we have officially beaten every mission in Scribblenauts Unlimited while pregnant and edible. There's a few I'd definitely put some asterisks on. A lot of the ones where you can cheese them by just camping on a rideable object feel a little too lame for me. Searching for Santa, Cellmates, the reality TV challenge come to mind. And if you hate fun, Pregnancy Clip and Zombie Invasion could definitely be seen as a blatant violation of the rules. And of course, Frontline Defense. But hey, why not give it a shot yourself? I'd love to see any of these missions solved in more interesting ways. As for me, I just recorded a 10,000 plus word script on MPreg and Vor. I think I'm done for now. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. Drop a like, subscribe, and let me know if you like this challenge. It's very different from the minimum word stuff I did, but I think it's a fun angle that changes this game in a very unique way. Let me know if you'd want to see other adjective debuff type challenges like this, and what adjectives would make for cool challenges. Also, I thought I'd ask here, is anyone interested in seeing this full run? In my last challenge, I said I'd start posting full runs on my second channel, but this one's like over 10 hours, and I just didn't feel like rendering it. If there's enough interest, I'll do it. You guys gotta let me know. If you want more Scribblenauts, I've got 3 other challenge runs in this series you could check out. I also do a lot of other weird shit. Most recently, I did this video with my friend who's new to Minecraft, and I made him fight the Ender Dragon. I think the video is really fun. I commissioned a lot of really cute animations for it, and it's kind of underperforming. So if you like Minecraft and you could check that out and give it some engagement, I would really appreciate that. Thank you to my members and patrons, in particular Yondir Isopod, Annie, and Llama3 Lord for being high tier patrons. Check out my Patreon if you want early access to videos and behind the scenes stuff. Don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description or scan my QR code to get some insane bonuses for new players.